may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, I know I am extremely annoying, but regardless, we have to say it one more time. I'm sorry if y'all have heard it 2 or 3 times now, but I owe everybody who is a member of the flock, all 20,000 of y'all, a massive, massive thank you. Just past 20,000 subscribers. Guys, it is 100% because of y'all. It's 100% because of y'all going down, dropping a like on the videos, going and leaving comments, subscribing to the channel, donating during live streams, joining the show on Patreon, everything that y'all do for the channel. Thank y'all so much, because there is no way we would be here without y'all. And yeah, outside of that, please go down to the comments below and let me know if you have any ideas of what you would like to see in terms of us celebrating this mark. Let me know if you want us to do something in a live stream. Let me know if y'all want another non-fantasy football video like our NFL Combine. Whatever it is, please go down to the comments below. That is where I'm going to see it. Or better yet, if you are a member on Patreon, shoot me a DM telling me what you would want to see, because I see every single DM on Patreon. Alright, so that's enough. Let's get into our rest of season running back rankings. And there's no better player to start it off with than Alvin Kamara here at 1. With Alvin Kamara, I was a little bit worried about Michael Thomas coming in and soaking up some of the targets that Kamara was getting out of the backfield, just because Michael Thomas is a wide receiver that tends to operate a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. Regardless, Kamara's target share remained in the New Orleans Saints offense. This is going to be a situation that we need to monitor with Jameis Winston being the quarterback of this team going forward. But I will actually say that, guys, with Jameis Winston, I think that it is in the range of outcomes for this to be an upgrade over Drew Brees, in that we know that Jameis Winston is going to make mistakes. We know that he is going to put the New Orleans Saints in a position where they are having to air the ball out, just like we saw in so many years in Tampa Bay. So I think maybe, honestly, we could see the targets out of the backfield go up for Alvin Kamara, just because the offense is going to be even more pass happy. Okay, now coming in here at 2, he's going to be behind Kamara because obviously the schedule is not there for him. Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook still a 3-down running back, seeing every single touch out of his backfield. Extremely talented. The offense is finally clicking now that they have that Justin Jefferson breakout. No real concerns about Dalvin Cook outside of some bad matchups going forward. Clear top 3 option. We have him here at 2. Now coming in here at 3, this is the first decision point that we actually have out of this list. Really, are you going to go with Derrick Henry? Are you going to go with Christian McCaffrey? And really, I think that with McCaffrey, he is going to definitely outscore Henry in points per game throughout the rest of the season, even with Derrick Henry having a fantastic playoff schedule. But I still think that we have to go with Derrick Henry at 3, because Derrick Henry is going to play every single game here on out. Derrick Henry is seeing at least 20 touches in every game, and we know he has that fantastic schedule going forward. Okay, so coming in here at 4, we are going to have Christian McCaffrey. The reason we're putting McCaffrey in here behind Derrick Henry is that he has a bye week 13. He may be out week 11 as well. So at the very least, we know we're going to be without him for 1 more week, if not 2. So with McCaffrey, yes, he is still going to be a top 3, probably the number 1 option for us in points per game for the rest of the season in games where he is fully healthy going into it. But that is just not the scenario that we are looking at, so we have to change our evaluations. Alright, so coming in here at 5, honestly, maybe one of my buy low targets right now at the position, Aaron Jones. Guys, in the live stream last night, I have no idea how many questions we were asked about Aaron Jones, if we were worried about him for the rest of the season, because Jamal Williams was continuing to have his role in this offense. And I'll say, guys, with Aaron Jones, the reason that he's ranked this highly is not because he's going to see every touch in his backfield. This is actually something that I did not understand well enough about 8 months ago. Obviously, I myself am continuing to try to progress as a fantasy football analyst. And I think one thing we've definitely improved on in this football season has been understanding the difference between raw touches out of the backfield and what touches are going to lead to efficient scoring of fantasy points. And Aaron Jones is the definition of the guy that is not going to get every single touch in that backfield, but he's going to be getting all the valuable touches in his backfield. He's going to be getting the receptions. He's going to be getting the usage at the goal line. So everyone worried about Jamal Williams needs to take a step back, understand that in 2019, Jamal Williams also had a major role on this offense. That's not going to keep Aaron Jones from being a top 5 running back rest of season. Okay, so coming in here at 6, I know this is going to be higher than any other fantasy football analyst wants to put him. I don't care. We're going to have him all the way up here. Miles Sanders. Guys, with Miles Sanders, I know he did not come back to this offense right away and provide us that elite level production, but I will say he was getting everything we wanted to see. He was getting those targets out of the backfields. He was getting the usage at the goal line. He was seeing the majority of the carries between the 20s. The only thing here is Boston Scott actually had a massive touchdown run this past week. I don't think that's going to change the usage for these running backs going forward. And like I said, guys, Jalen Reagor is a legit wide receiver where I think he is going to be able to increase the efficiency of this overall Philadelphia Eagles offense. And when that happens, our expectations on Miles Sanders are going to be going up. Okay, so now our next running back coming in here at 7, Josh Jacobs. So guys, with Josh Jacobs, he looks a lot like Miles Sanders, where Jacobs does not necessarily have catching the ball out of the backfield listed as one of his strengths, but it is still something that he can do. And also with Jacobs, we know he's going to get pretty much every single touch at the goal line. He's going to get the majority of usage in his backfield, and this offense is going to improve with Bryan Edwards coming in, with Henry Ruggs continuing to progress throughout his rookie season, really making it where the safeties can't come down in and stack the box. So with Josh Jacobs, I think his best games are ahead of him. Okay, so our next running back, this is also going to be a running back that I know I have him higher than pretty much anybody else, Joe Mixon. Guys, we are standing by the fact that Joe Mixon is a top 10 running back every single week that he is healthy for this Cincinnati Bengals offense. I think that Joe Mixon should be good to go in week 11, and we know that he is going to be another one of these running backs that is highly athletic, getting touches at the goal line, getting targets out of the backfield, and this offense should continue to progress with Joe Burrow just going through and getting better throughout his NFL rookie season. So here, I think it's a massive tier that we have in 6 through 8 with Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, and Joe Mixon. Okay, so coming in here at 9, I know I'm going to be higher on this player also than pretty much anybody else, but DeAndre Swift. Yes, DeAndre Swift is now a top 10 running back. And yes, I did not forget anybody here. DeAndre Swift is ahead of Nick Chubb, James Robinson, Ezekiel Elliott. I don't care. Guys, with DeAndre Swift, what we are seeing him provide for us is very similar to an Aaron Jones. He is going to be getting all of the targets in this offense. He's going to be getting all of the touches at the goal line. He's completely erased Adrian Peterson here, and DeAndre Swift is playing in an offense that's a lot better than some of these other options. He has fully emerged as a breakout player in 2020. If you don't have him, I'm sorry, most of the people in the flock actually have DeAndre Swift on a ton of their rosters. I mean, just go out in the live stream. You'll see that I probably get 10 questions a stream and probably 10 questions an hour about DeAndre Swift, if you should start him, if you should sell him, blah, blah, blah. No, guys, do not sell DeAndre Swift. There was a reason he was one of our prime draft day targets. There's a reason he was my #1 running back coming into the 2020 NFL draft. We love DeAndre Swift. Okay, so coming in here at 10, I am fully willing to hear your argument out if you want to say that he is one of the most talented running backs in the NFL. And that's crazy to say. Generally, I always want to write off the undrafted free agent. But here, James Robinson. James Robinson, yes, he is legit. He looks like he is not only a great runner between the tackles, but also a receiver out of the backfield. No idea how this player went undrafted, but what is worrisome is this overall offense in Jacksonville. Y'all know I was actually saying to avoid James Robinson this past week in your starting lineup if we were going to have Jaire Alexander active, because I thought Jaire Alexander active, clearly that completely transforms the Green Bay Packers defense, and they actually had their #2 cornerback as well out. So I think really that saved the day for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That day would have been horrendous on the offensive side of the ball if the Green Bay Packers had their top defensive backs. But regardless, I think that we are going to be projecting this Jacksonville Jaguars offense to be one of the worst offenses in the NFL for the rest of the season. I mean, the fact that they were not able to completely just roll through that horrible Green Bay Packers defense, I promise y'all, without Jair Alexander, without their second cornerback to go as well, that may have been a bottom 5 defensive unit this past week. With James Robinson, yes, he's extremely talented, but he's going to be down here at 10 because his overall offensive situation. Okay, now coming in here at 11, I know this is going to ruffle some feathers. I know people are going to get very annoyed with me. Yes, this is behind Joe Mixon, DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs, James Robinson. He's behind all these players confidently for me. Nick Chubb. Guys, Nick Chubb, if we were ranking pure running back talent, if we were looking at the running backs in the NFL that could run between the tackles, I think Nick Chubb would be a top 3 option. I mean, there are very few running backs that are more talented than Nick Chubb, but we have a couple problems here. One, we are seeing that Kareem Hunt is pretty much splitting this backfield 50-50 in terms of carries. And 2, we are seeing that Nick Chubb is getting no targets out of the backfield in the slightest. I mean, Nick Chubb literally had 0 receptions this past week. This is what I was very worried about coming into the NFL season. Yes, he looked fantastic, but that was actually against one of the worst run defenses in the entire NFL in the Houston Texans. With Nick Chubb, I don't think we can rank him higher than any of those other 3-down running backs because right now it looks like he is on a committee. Okay, so now our next running back, our last guy in our top 12, Ezekiel Elliott. Guys, with Elliott, the reason that we have to have him here at 12 is he is maintaining his usage in this offense in neutral game scenarios. Yes, if a game gets out of hand or if Ezekiel Elliott's a little bit banged up, they are going to get Tony Pollard in there for some snaps. But outside of that, we've seen Zeke pretty much handle every single touch in this backfield. And I actually think that Andy Dalton is going to come into this offense and he's going to be better than what we've seen in the past few weeks. I know Dalton looked atrocious against the Washington football team a few weeks ago, but we have to understand with Dalton, we are looking at a sample size of years of decent quarterback production. We're looking at one game and a horrible matchup against the Washington football team where he really crumbled. So I think we look at the large sample rather than hyper focus in on the small sample. Assume this Dallas Cowboys offense gets a little bit better. Ezekiel Elliott is still going to be a running back 1 for us, but on the low end. Okay, now coming in here at 13, this is a player y'all know I do not like. This is a player that I always have a strong bias against, but Chris Carson. So with Chris Carson, he's coming in here at 13, honestly a little bit higher than where we had him in our last week's rankings. One, because that means he is 1 week closer coming back from that injury. And 2, they actually put Rashad Penny back on the short-term IR, so we're not going to have to worry about Penny coming in and getting usage away from Chris Carson anytime soon. Have to rank Carson here at 13. Okay, now coming in here at 14, one of the most polarizing running backs in my opinion, at least with where I was trying to rank him, James Conner. Guys, with James Conner, I don't really understand what's going on right now. I think that we can confidently say that he is the most talented running back in Pittsburgh. I don't know why we're not seeing production. I don't know if it's just because the game plan of this team. If you have any idea, please go down to the comments below. But at the end of the day, James Conner is going to be the lead running back on one of the best offenses in football. So I really can't put him any lower than this. All right, so now this next player, Austin Ekeler, coming in here at 15. I want to put a strong asterisk next to this ranking just because, guys, Austin Ekeler, if you are a fantasy playoff team where you're possibly 8-2 locked into the fantasy football playoffs, I think you actually have a lot more value in Austin Ekeler than this ranking. I think that you can move him all the way up to probably around running back 9, right ahead of DeAndre Swift, James Robinson, Nick Chubb. But if you're currently a team that's possibly just say 3-7, 4-6, and you need to win every single matchup from here on out, then Austin Ekeler is not even on your radar. So really, the ranking here at 15 is just going to be somewhere in the middle between there, but please keep in mind your own team situation when trying to evaluate him. Okay, so now our next running back, Kareem Hunt, coming in here at 16. Yes, Kareem Hunt looked fantastic this last week against a horrible Houston Texans run defense. Now, I know Kareem Hunt looks like he is one of the most talented running backs in the NFL just like Nick Chubb. But the problem is they're splitting this backfield so much that they are just cannibalizing each other. Clearly, if we saw Nick Chubb with no Kareem Hunt, he'd be a top 3 option. If we saw Kareem Hunt without Nick Chubb, he'd be right up there as well. But the problem is they're just splitting that backfield. Okay, now coming in here at 17, we are going to have Kenyan Drake. Kenyan Drake this past week went out for the Arizona Cardinals and proved that he is going to be able to handle a significant amount of touches in this offense. But the problem is he's not going to be getting that consistent look of targets out of the backfield. That is going to be going to Chase Edmonds. So really, the upside with Kenyan Drake is going to be limited. Okay, so now our next running back, Antonio Gibson. Guys, Gibson is a running back that I loved going into the NFL draft. I loved going into fantasy drafts. But the problem here is J.D. McKissic is just seeing too many targets in that offense. I have no idea why they insist on using J.D. McKissic as much as they do. I think that Antonio Gibson, a former wide receiver out of Memphis, could easily do the job, but he's not getting the opportunity right now. Okay, so David Montgomery coming out here at 19. David Montgomery, the entire storyline is, yes, horrible running back, one of the least talented running backs in the NFL. But at the end of the day, when he is healthy, he's going to be seeing every single touch in the Chicago Bears backfield. Cannot ignore that. Have to have him here at 19. Okay, all the way down here at 20. I know this is going to be lower than pretty much anybody else will have him, but I don't want him on my roster, so I'm going to have him ranked severely lower than most people. Todd Gurley. Guys, Todd Gurley right now is a committee running back. He's an inefficient committee running back who has been fully relying on touchdown volume so far in 2020. That's going to bring on a lot of volatile performances with really not a super high ceiling and just an incredibly low floor. So I want nothing to do with Todd Gurley. Okay, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be our running back here at 21. Now with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this looks like it may be one of my biggest misses in 2020. I thought that Clyde was going to be a mid running back 1, and I was begging y'all to try to buy him low after a few weeks this NFL season. But then we have to just acknowledge Le'Veon Bell came in. Le'Veon Bell's getting about, I would say, 45% of the looks right now in Kansas City. And that's going to severely cap not only Clyde Edwards-Helaire's ceiling, but it's also going to lower his floor. Okay, so Ronald Jones coming in here at 22. We cannot ignore the past performance that we saw against the Carolina Panthers. What's the most important thing about this performance, in my opinion, is that Ronald Jones went out there and fumbled at the very beginning of the game and was not benched. So I think that shows that Bruce Arians is a little bit more trustworthy with Ronald Jones. Okay, so Raheem Mostert coming in here at 23. So guys, with Raheem, I want nothing to do with him. Very similar to where we had Todd Gurley. I know this is going to be lower than really anybody else is willing to put Raheem, but even when he comes back from injury, he's going to be operating in one of the least effective offenses in the entire NFL. On top of that, we know that without George Kittle, this offensive line is going to be incredibly inefficient, where really I don't want anything to do with it. Okay, so rounding out our top 24, had a very bad week this past week, but we cannot ignore the fact that he may be the most premium handcuff running back in the entire NFL. He has a role on his offense, as is Leonard Fournette. Guys, with Fournette, I think right now it's not really going to be a running back that you can play with confidence, but if anything happens to Ronald Jones, he probably jumps up as a top 6 option overall, so you have to just bake a good amount of value into his personal evaluation. But now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, please make sure you go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. And I hope I'll see y'all in the live stream tonight.